Hi family and friends, work colleagues, those of you out there that might be watching this video and don't even know who I am. I've been thinking a lot recently about mental health and in particular male mental health, and I decided that I was going to put myself out there just to share my story, to share what's happened and to share the things that I've done to help me and help me get on a path to recovery. I'm not doing it to get pity, or that's absolutely not the drive of this. I'm really just doing it to put it out there, and hopefully, if it can help someone else who's in my position, then that's as much as I can ask for. I'm doing it for my family and my friends, and in particular, I'm doing it for my children, just to let my kids know that if you suffer through life with any sort of stress, anxiety, or mental depression, that you can reach out, and there are people there that can help you. I've found through my work certainly that the best way to get something across is to tell a story. Storytelling is just one of those things that is passed down through the ages to share knowledge and understanding. And what I'd like to do is just to kind of open up the video and tell you a little bit about my story and what I've been experiencing over the last few years. Maybe just give you a little feel for some of the symptoms that I experienced, and then some ideas or things that I've gone through to try and improve my own situation. By no way or means am I a health professional or a mental health professional, so I'm not doing it from any position of professional knowledge, but I am doing it from a position of personal knowledge. So I think I've always struggled a little bit with mental health issues. I think that there's been trauma in my life all the way back to childhood, where I was dealing with an alcoholic mother. I think that created a base that's well hidden inside me that probably has been responsible for some of the things that I've been going through in the last few years. But in particular, over the last 4 years, I've been helping a very, very close person in my life deal with things that are in effect significantly worse than what I experienced. Situations of chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, alcohol dependence, and significant mental health issues. And as a bloke, I wanted to step up and help. So I tried as hard as I could over the last few years to be there, to support, to come up with ideas. Little did I know really that from my own perspective, as a very good friend of mine, Simon, said yesterday, that you can't help someone if you don't help yourself. And I guess I found through the journey that where I was struggling badly with it, that I was putting that aside, and I was putting all of my emphasis and all of my effort into helping the other person. That kind of ultimately led to a situation that was inevitable, and certainly in March last year, I found myself down what I call the bottom of a big black hole, where I had a couple of significant episodes, and tried to deal with them. Woke up the next day and said, well, you've got to get back on the horse and move on. You've got work to do. You've got a business that's relying on you. You've got a partner who's relying on you. So, let's just park the personal stuff and get on with doing what you've been doing. It only works for so long. And probably in around about September this year, I finally reached out to my GP, explained my situation, and went on to antidepressants. And what that allowed me to do was to really step outside myself and get a full idea of what I'd been going through, and really the extent of my own situation. And when I look through it over the last 4 years, and in particular the last 12 months, if you wanted to have some indicators of things that were very strong signposts that everything wasn't right with me, certainly sadness is a big driver. An inward self of sadness, an inability at times to be happy. That kind of come with looking inwards. I sort of find that your life narrows from a 360-degree perspective to a very, very narrow pinhole, and you can't see anything else except this pinhole. And as you're going through an episode, the sides close in and you're only left with that pinhole, and you start to look inwards. Your whole life is consumed by just a very, very small box and a little light at the end, and it's really hard to break out of that, and it creates a situation where you definitely have a lack of inertia. I'm sure the people out there that suffer like I have can understand when I say that you can wake up in the morning and you can't get out of bed. Hello, Calico. Then all you want to do is just pull the covers up, curl up into a ball, and just look inwards and just be absorbed by it. Certainly, yes, mate. Certainly, unhealthy eating's something that I found. I always like chocolate, but probably I know I'm having a bit of an issue when I'm certainly eating too much unhealthy food. A big one for me recently has been episodes of binge drinking. As I said, I've got a family history of alcoholism. I've always had it in the back of my mind to be a little bit aware of that history. But, just recently I've found that for me it's kind of putting eating and drinking around the opposite way and finding an excuse to go out for a drink where there's food involved. And also for me that does create significant concerns, because when you're in the position of having a bit of mental unhealthiness, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable position. Lack of inertia is a big one. The inability to get up there and actually move and get on with things. Starting 15 things and not finishing one is a good example of what I go through. Look, this is a big one. It's a little bit confronting, but I'm happy to put it out there. Suicidal thoughts. I've always known that one of the key indicators of depression is suicidal thoughts. Really with the majority of people not really having an intent to follow through with that. One episode that's had a big effect on me has certainly been Danny Frawley, around the same age, same number of children, and found himself in that position and took that decision. And the big thing about suicidal thoughts for me is connecting it, and for a lot of people is connecting it with alcohol and drinking too much and putting yourself in a position where you make unhealthy choices. Lack of self-esteem, that's a big one. You just have a lack of self-esteem, and certainly a feeling of worthlessness. Be it true or not, it's what goes through the minds of someone that does have a mental health disorder. Not exercising, that's a big one for me. One of the biggest things I did in the last 4 years was join the Ride for Youth, and that forced me to exercise and to ride with a group of people who not only helped me on an exercise level but a personal level as well. Pulling back from human interaction, that's a big one. We're designed to have that healthy human interaction, and a big sign for people that they're suffering mentally is pulling back from doing that. And finally, a big one for me is wearing a mask, and this I kind of distill everything for me down to wearing a mask, and I have this feeling that you have an outward mask that, in an extreme example, might be jovial, happy, the life, the party, but inside people are really feeling hurt and sadness. And I think of Danny Frawley, and I think that I don't know it, but I think he was wearing a mask as well. So all of those things bubble around in the background. You don't focus on them every day. They're just things that absorb you and dictate how you approach your position during the day. Reaching out and asking for help was a big one. I did it in March at the ride, where I'd had a really bad day on the bike, and I wanted to talk to the team because I wanted them to know why I wasn't performing, and I wanted to open them up to my issues, because I'm riding a bike with 35 other fantastic people, 700 kilometres, to raise money to help an organisation that supports children for suicide, self-harm, depression and anxiety. So it seemed like an appropriate forum to stand up and tell my story. I must admit I was shitting myself just before I did, but the exercise was extremely cathartic, and the amount of love, for want of a better word, that I got that night was sensational. And it started me on a path of of slowly reaching out to people. And certainly over the last short period of time, I've been able to do that. I'd like to give you one example. You know, the thing about blokes is we think we're tough and we think that we can't share our emotions and that we have to be the male alpha and that we need to solve all the problems. It really doesn't work like that way. I think of people in the community now that are probably doing it a bit tough in regard to that. And certainly when you think about the farmers that are going through significant periods of drought, when you think about the fantastic volunteers over in New South Wales and Queensland that are out there battling fires, I'm sure that there's a significant number of those people that are suffering mental health problems and don't have the ability to reach out. Reaching out is so important. And the thing that's really surprised me over the last month in particular is the number of guys that are happy to help and are happy to have a word with me and give me a hug. I've got a work colleague, phoned him up, a professional work colleague, and all I said in the conversation was, I'm just doing a little tough at the moment. That was at around about 10 o'clock in the morning. At 6 o'clock that night, he gave me a call. He was on his way home and he said, Paul, I've just been thinking all day about what you said about doing it tough. What's the story? What's going on? And we had a chat about it, and that was just fantastic. So I'm certainly reaching out and getting assistance helps. Look, some of the things that I've done, mainly recently, that have helped me get on the road of recovery, are certainly talking about it, understanding and accepting, understanding that you can't get better on your own. The big one for me was not trying to put myself in vulnerable situations. Fell down a little bit a couple of weeks ago and phoned an old friend of mine I've known since I was 24 and asked him if he'd give me a hand if I was doing it tough, and I didn't half remember the conversation, but he phoned me up the next day and we had a good chat. Exercise is a big one. For me it's riding a bike, being out on that bike and clearing your head and looking around at the wonderful city that's Perth, and having an opportunity to think clearly about things has been a real positive. Healthy eating, stands for itself. Haven't quite got there yet with chocolate, but I'm trying. Have a purpose and a meaning, and that's what I'm striving for. I think that when you get out of bed in the morning, we're certainly hardwired and designed to have a purpose and a meaning for doing that. And if that purpose or meaning is robbed from you, or you can't find that, then it certainly makes it extremely difficult. So striving to find out what your purpose and meaning is pretty important. One I haven't put in place yet, but I'm pretty keen to try, is acts of random kindness. I think you can feel very happy about just doing something for somebody that wasn't expected. Not sure what that's going to be, but I'll give it a go. Find the good in people. I've opened up and realised there's good in just about everybody. Remove the negative people from your life. I haven't really done this because I don't have a lot of negative people in my life, but I imagine that's quite important for some people. Step back from the trenches. This for me was a big one and a big realisation recently, that when you're absorbed by your own mental health issues, and in particular when you're dealing with the mental health issues of someone very close to you, and in my example I'm trying to help them through it, I kind of equated it to being in the trenches with your sleeves rolled up. It's kind of hand-to-hand combat, and all you can see is the dimensions of the trench, which are pretty narrow and confined. And you live in there day to day, but if you take the opportunity to get outside that trench and actually get the opportunity to look at your life as a whole, I found that very, very helpful. Smile and laugh. For those of you that know me, know that I never did quite grow up. I've always been able to elicit a laugh and be humorous. Sometimes, as I said earlier, that was designed as part of the mask. But laughter is good for the soul. And how good do you feel when you've had a good laugh and tears are running down your face? Seek help. Reach out to professionals. That's what they're there for. Talk to people that know what you're going through, people that have the ideas and suggestions that'll get you on the right path. And all of those things together over the last few months have certainly helped me kind of move down that road of feeling a bit better about myself and feeling a bit better about life. But for the guys out there, you just got to share it. If you're doing it tough, then speak to people. If you're doing it tough, find the good things in your life and focus on them. Find out about the things that you can change to make it better. But reach out. Speak to people. Share your story, and your good friends and your family are there all the time to provide you with support and help. And I guess I've only just started to find that out over the last month or two. So if you found this of any use, then share it. Play it for your husband. Send me a comment. Give me a call. I'm a good talker. Don't mind having a chat. But look, looking outside in Perth today, the sun's up. The country's beautiful. My family's great. My dog's fantastic. We're doing okay, and life's good. And I just want to get out there and celebrate all of those good things. So thanks for listening. And the side note to this is there's always a catch. I'll send another video around next week about the ride and the things that you might be able to do to help young people not go through what they shouldn't have to, certainly at their period of life. Cheers and have a great day.